I can't help but wonder what it was like to gallop across the vast Eurasian steppe, bow in hand, as a Scythian warrior. Today, we're diving headfirst into the world of these legendary nomads who gave even the mightiest empires a run for their money. We're talking about the Scythians and their epic resistance against the Persian Empire and Greek city-states.
Strap in, because this is going to be one wild ride through the steppes of history.
So, who were these Scythians anyway? Well, imagine this. It's the 6th century BC. These folks weren't your average settlers, Tay. Oh no. The Scythians were masters of the horse, able to efficient. But the Scythian lifestyle wasn't all about warfare. These nomads were intimately connected to their environment. They lived in portable yurts, herded cattle and horses, and developed a rich culture that would leave archaeologists drooling millennia later. The steppe itself, an ocean of grass stretching from modern-day Ukraine to Kazakhstan, the perfect playground for a mobile society.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, nomads on horses, cool. But what's the big deal? Well, here's where things get interesting.
By the late 6th century BCE, the Scythians had become a force to be reckoned with. But there was a new kid on the block, the Persian Empire.
Enter Darius I, King of Kings, ruler of the largest empire the world had seen up to that point.
Darius looked at the Scythians and thought, yeah, I'm gonna conquer those guys. Big mistake. Huge. In 513 BCE, Darius launched a massive campaign into Scythian territory.
But the Scythians? They had other plans.
All right, let's dive into Scythian military tactics, because this is where things get really cool. The Scythians weren't about standing in neat lines and charging at the enemy. Their strength lay in mobility and archery. Imagine thousands of horsemen, each capable of loosing arrow after arrow while riding at full gallop.
It was like a deadly ballet on horseback.
Spectacle. The Scythian composite bow was a marvel of engineering for its time. Made from layers of wood,
Combine this with their mastery of horses and you got a force that could strike hard and fast, then disappear into the vastness of the steppe before the enemy knew what hit them.
It was guerrilla warfare before guerrilla warfare was cool.
So, Darius and his massive Persian army march into Scythian territory, expecting a straightforward conquest.
But the Scythians, they were playing 4D chess, while Darius was still setting up the board.
Instead of meeting the Persians in a pitched battle, the Scythians employed what we might call a scorched earth strategy.
They retreated deeper into their territory, destroying wells, burning grasslands, and basically leaving nothing for the Persian army to sustain itself.
But wait, there's more. The Scythians didn't just run away. They engaged in some serious psychological warfare.
They'd send cryptic messages to Darius, like that time they sent a bird, a mouse, a frog, and 5 arrows. It was like the world's deadliest gift basket.
They'd also make occasional appearances, taunting the Persians from afar, only to vanish when pursued.
It was driving Darius absolutely bonkers.
Now, let's spare a thought for poor Darius and his army. They're in a pickle, to put it mildly.
Patience. The Persians were used to fighting in more settled areas, with clear objectives like cities to conquer.
Pacifists. No cities to capture, no clear battle lines, just an endless sea of grass and occasional groups of Scythians who'd appear.
The logistical challenges were enormous. How do you feed and water an army of thousands in a land where your enemies have destroyed all the resources?
The Persians found themselves running low on supplies, their horses dying, and morale plummeting faster than a lead balloon.
Darius had walked right into the Scythian trap, and now he was realizing that sometimes the mightiest.
While the Persians were having their steppe adventure, the Scythians were also interacting with another major player in the ancient world, the Greeks.
Now, the relationship between the Scythians and the Greek city-states was complicated, to say the least.
On one hand, There was trade and cultural exchange. Greek colonies on the Black Sea coast acted as middlemen, but it wasn't all wine and olive oil. The Scythians also came into conflict with Greek settlers, particularly in the Crimean Peninsula. Greek hoplites, with their heavy armor and phalanx formation, found themselves at a disadvantage against the mobile Scythian cavalry. It was like bringing a knife to a gunfight, except the gun was a horse and the knife was, well, still a knife, I guess. Now, you might be thinking the Scythians were just a bunch of rough-and-tumble warriors, but hold your horses. Scythian society was far more complex.
For starters, women held significant roles. Ancient Greek historians wrote about Scythian women warriors. Archaeological evidence suggests that some Scythian women were indeed buried with weapons and battle scars.
Scythian social structure was hierarchical, with a warrior aristocracy at the top. But they also had skilled craftsmen, producing intricate gold jewelry and other artworks that continue to amaze us today. Family life centered around the clan, with several extended families forming larger tribal units.
And get this, the Scythians were into body art. Tattoos were common, often depicting animals and mythical.
Let's dig deeper into Scythian culture, starting with their burial practices. The Scythians are famous for their kurgans, easternaves. These weren't just graves. They were like underground palaces for the dead, filled with gold, weapons. Talk about partying in the afterlife. Scythian religion and mythology were closely tied to nature and the animals of the steppe. Their art often featured animals in dynamic poses, creating a unique style known as the Scythian animal style. This wasn't just decoration, it was a way of expressing their worldview and spiritual beliefs. The Scythians saw the world as alive with spirits and power, and their art reflected this vibrant, animistic perspective. As we wrap up our Scythian saga, let's consider their legacy. The Scythians' successful resistance against it showed that even the mightiest empires could be stymied by determined, mobile opponents who knew their terrain. This lesson would be repeated throughout history, from the Mongols to modern guerrilla warfare. The Scythians eventually faded from the historical stage, pushed aside by other nomadic groups and changing political dynamics. But their influence lived on. Their horse riding and archery techniques spread far and wide. Their art influenced cultures from China to Celtic Europe. And in legend and literature, the image of the fierce, free-riding Scythian warrior continued to capture imaginations for centuries to come.
Not bad for a bunch of nomads from the steppe, eh?
And there you have it, fair, the epic tale of these warriors, the horse lords who impacted empires and left a mark on history.
From their nomadic lifestyle to their military prowess, from their rich culture to their enduring...
Sometimes the most fascinating stories come from those who lived life on the move, with the wind in their hair and the vast steppe as their home.
If you enjoyed this gallop through history, be sure to subscribe for more epic tales from the past.
Until next time, keep your arrows sharp and your horses ready.